This video provides some key visual displays and descriptive measures for reporting upon a single variable. In video 1, we describe the concept of a random variable, identifying what you're interested in measuring, for example, reaction time, and determining the variable's type. For example, reaction time is continuous. Once data are recorded for a variable, we need to communicate the key information the data provides. For a variable that is continuous, we can consider a histogram of the data, which shows the relative frequency or distribution of the recorded data once they are grouped into short intervals. In this example, 2-second intervals from 18 to 32 seconds. And we describe three key things: shape, center, and spread, the three S's. The shape of the distribution in this case is symmetric about the center and bell-shaped, like a normal curve. The center of the data may be described using the mean or median. The mean is found by adding the 21 values and dividing by 21. The median is the middle value, once they are sorted from lowest to highest. In this case, the value that has 10 values below it and 10 values above it. And the spread, or variation of the data, is often described by the standard deviation, which essentially measures how close the values are to the mean on average. A small standard deviation indicates the data are all relatively close to the center, whilst a larger standard deviation indicates the data are not all so close and are spread further away from the center. Recall the four variable types, which were described in the video on random variables. We've just considered a continuous variable, reaction time, and how to display and describe the data in summary. For each variable type, certain visual displays and descriptions are appropriate. Consider the nominal variable, primary complaint, which records the primary complaint of customers staying at a hotel. A frequency table lists the variable's outcomes and how often each was identified, thus categorizing the individual responses and simplifying the information. Better yet, we reorder these categories based on frequency or percentage to more clearly see underlying messages. Note that the category Other is a compilation of all responses where each had a smaller frequency than the smallest individually listed response, telephone. So the category Other appears last, and we know in this case it would have at least 9 categories within it. A Pareto chart further assists in prioritizing action. The blue bars indicate the relative frequency for each category. The red line represents the cumulative percentage as we include more and more of the complaint types from left to right. So what are the key messages? The reservation process is a key concern, reported by over half the respondents. Further, over 70% report one of two primary concerns: reservation process and cleaning. These seem priority areas to consider for improvement. Pareto principle states the larger majority of outcomes are due to a smaller minority of reasons, and is exemplified here. In this case, 70% of responses are due to about 13% or 2 of the 15 or more categories, considering that Other includes at least 9 categories. Now let's consider an ordinal variable: risk of developing disease. If the possible responses are low, low to medium, medium, medium to high, or high, then we can see the categories have a natural order. Low comes before low medium, which comes before medium, and so on the scale of low through to high. We may then assess the levels of risk among a group of patients and consider their distribution of risk via a bar chart, where each bar represents the frequency of each category. Notice that the ordering of the categories is maintained. We don't reorder them based on frequency. Since we have an ordinal variable, we must retain the order. We can describe the shape, center, and spread of such a variable. We quickly see the shape is skewed to the right, with the peak nearer the left, and then tailing out with decreasing frequency for categories to the right. The concentration, or where it is centered, is nearer the lower end of the scale. The spread is from low all the way through to high. We don't have values only at one end. For a discrete variable, like number of electrical circuit failures per month, or number of workplace injuries per month, we also construct a bar chart when we have relatively few possible responses. Or we may treat it more like a continuous variable when we have many possible responses and hence produce a histogram. So that's a brief look at the visual displays and descriptive measures used for each of the variable types. The next video looks at describing pairs of variables.